there something different, Ty, about the eastern shore of Maryland than is this a different part of the country over here?
Well, it is to me. See, I've been around a lot, but Eastern Shore is the greatest place on earth.
And an old waterman's idea of the greatest place on earth has nothing to do with the east coast of the United States. He's talking about the salt marshes, the wildlife, the people of the Chesapeake Bay's eastern shore. In attitude, outlook, and character, a kind of country unto itself. If the whole area is off the beaten track, Crisfield, population 2,800 give or take, doesn't even have a track. A dozen miles off the main drag, the locals are fond of saying the town is on a cul-de-sac. Perhaps dead end sounds too much like an epitaph. One thing's sure, there isn't much to recommend this place to the casual tourist. It is older than Philadelphia, but has practically nothing to show for it, because over the decades, Crisfield has burned down more often than the backdraft ride at Universal Studios. The occasional visitors, people the town folks affectionately call, what was it again, Mayor?
They call them foreigners. I don't like to hear that word, but they call them foreigners.
Oh yeah, foreigners, meaning all of us from anywhere more than 3 miles away. Anyhow, the occasional visitors are probably just using Crisfield as a parking lot on their way to touring one of the more popular Chesapeake attractions.
Well, we just bought our ticket for the boat to take the cruise over to Tangier Island.
Out of the car, onto the boat.
That's it.
We're still a little shy with tourists coming in. Even I am. I think when people get to know me, I can talk all day long, but it's hard for me to get to know people initially.
How do you spot them? How do you spot the foreigners when they come in?
It's easy. It's probably you.
And some of us foreigners find less than attractive the seafood processors lining the waterfront, occupying the prime real estate, and giving Crisfield a distinctive, how can I put this nicely, a distinctive eau de parfum?
Would you want to buy a condominium down here for $100,000 and you smell crab juice all night long?
To look at it today, it's no wonder not many tourists want to. And it's hard to imagine that this used to be the queen of the Chesapeake, the boomingest town on the bay. Originally called Summers Cove, the place was 200 years old before a fellow named John W. Crisfield put his name on the map by bringing the railroad to town, driving it right smack down the middle of Main Street to the water's edge. Before you could say Oysters Rockefeller, Crisfield was the scene of a seafood version of the gold rush, a little of the Wild West on the eastern shore. Well, maybe not this wild, but the stage shootout during the city's annual Hard Crab Derby doesn't miss the mark by much. After the turn of the century, little Crisfield was called the seafood capital of the world, and with good reason. They were shucking and shipping like you couldn't believe. Oysters literally becoming the foundation of the town's future. They processed them by the millions a day, acting as if they'd never exhaust the supply. And crabs? More came from here than anywhere in the country. Why, as recently as the 1940s, there'd be times when this harbor was so crowded you couldn't see the water for the workboats.
When I was a little boy, for instance, you could walk from one boat to another to the other side.
Just walking on boats like they were a bridge.
Just like the bridge across to the other side of there. Like they're bringing in their fish harvests, their summertime, and their crabs. Wintertime, oysters was the same way.
But even with Scotty's generation, everybody calls Mayor Richard Scott Scotty, even then the harvest was beginning to decline, the town turning to industry off the water to keep its head above it. But ultimately, nothing halted Crisfield's bumpy slide to the bottom rung of the economic ladder where it sits today, leaving businessman John Taws, everybody calls him Jay, in search of a silver lining.
Well, you know, I've been saying for the last couple of years, when you got the highest unemployment, the lowest income per capita in the state, you know, and you got a plant closing and you got seafood going downhill, where else can you go but uphill?
Whether they really believe the turnaround is coming or they really don't care, we found Crisfielders to be nowhere near as depressed as their economic statistics.
When hard times hit here, we pay no attention to it. Because it's hard times down here all the time. And if the depression hits them down here, they know how to live. The city people don't live that good. You know, they fast money and the money falls down, they ain't got nothing to fall back on. Here, do we have?
I think so. I like to say we've got a wonderful way of life here. Down, I guess we've always been there, so we don't know what down is.
Hun Lawson's family has called this area home for a dozen generations, and in some ways at least, still personifies the town.
We're laid back, you know, and I don't get in a rush for anything anymore. I don't know, yeah, we take a lot of pride in being Crisfield. Yeah, we're making it.
Yeah, if the stock market crashes, not many people are jumping out windows in Crisfield.
Not here, no. They don't probably don't even pay no attention to it. But they say, what? Another day.